It is another week of wandering in the wilderness. Thank you for joining us again. This week we want to look at water, something that the Israelites are definitely going to need while they're in the desert. So we're going to look to Exodus 17, verses 1 through 7. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages, as the Lord commanded. They camped. Oh, wait. Now see, they're big words. I'm going to have to ask for help. Rephidim?
Rephidim.
Mm-hmm. But there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses. And they said, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt? To kill us and our children and our livestock with our thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What shall I do with this people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people, and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock of Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it, so that the people may drink." Moses did so, and in the sight of the elders of Israel, he called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" Well, again, they need water. Water is essential. You cannot go very long without water, and especially clean water. We saw that in the initially when they were ushered into the wilderness. The first thing they needed was clean water, and they could only find disgusting water. They needed a good source of clean water. That's how they would survive. That's how they would get better and be able to function and do what they're supposed to do. So here we are completely lacking water. They have moved on from the place where they did find good water at the springs of Elim. But I think this is where God is calling them to keep going on this journey. There is a next place. Remember when Moses couldn't handle how the Israelites were complaining, God's command was to go ahead with them. Go ahead. Take the leaders of Israel with you. Go ahead to the next place. And anytime we are moving forward, listening to God's command for us, God's call for us, God's specific asking for us right now, sometimes we have to go further ahead. We have to keep going on the journey. And every time we do that, it involves risks. It's scary. We struggle. We worry. We doubt. We don't necessarily fully trust God. And we don't know what's going to happen. It's hard when we find ourselves in those places when we know we have to move on and we have to move forward and we have to trust that God is going to provide. God is going to do what is necessary. That is very difficult for us to do.
Yeah. I want to look for just a second at what God says to Moses. I think it's interesting. God says, "Go and take the staff with which you struck the Nile." I don't think Moses had like this array of staffs. It was
No, he had a whole rack of them. He had a whole rack of all the different ones.
Just the one staff. So why is it that God says specifically, "Take the staff with which you struck the Nile"? What happened when Moses struck the Nile? It stopped flowing. It dried up. Now, Egypt, they depended on the Nile. The Nile is the center of everything. It waters their crops. It's transportation. I mean, the Nile always flows. That's the bedrock of Egyptian society. And yet, out in the desert, we don't expect water. Water is catch as catch can. It's whatever you can find. God reverses that. God takes that and turns it upside down. You think that the Nile is always going to be there? No, not when Moses' staff is there. You think that the desert is a dry place? Well, streams will flow in the desert when Moses' staff is there. And it's not Moses' staff that's some sort of magical instrument. It's that God is present with Israel. God is present with Moses. God is present in the staff to make that change. It's not, that the Nile will always flow. It's not that the desert is always going to be barren. It's that when God is there, then things they're refreshed, they're renewed, just like we do with water. God's changing what we expect to happen into a new thing.
But in order to do that, in order to find what we need, sometimes we have to move forward and listen to God's command, and that means letting go. Letting go of the things where we say, no, I can't possibly do that. No, I can't possibly go there. You really want me to do that? We have to let go of those things. We have to be willing to take that risk, to take that leap of faith, and to trust that God has a plan that is bigger than anything that we could imagine or know about. So today, take a moment and think about how you are called to move forward, to what is needed for you and for your path of faith. Our prayers go with you as you think about that.